Closer. Today we are going to do the task 3, which is configure Windows Server 2016. So before going and start configuring our Windows Server 2016, we need to install Guest Addition. So it says here that Guest Additions consist of device drivers and system programs for better performance and usability. Some of the benefits of installing these features is to have a better video performance so that we can display the virtual machine desktop in full screen mode. So we already have the Windows Server 2016 running in our background. And now we are going to add the guest. So we are going to click the device and click the Insert Guest Addition CD image. So after clicking the Insert Guest, we are now going to open our documents. We are going to click this PC, and as you can see here, we already have the CD drive VirtualBox Guest. Now we are going to click that, and then it will open, and we are going to choose the VirtualBox Windows Addition. So this one, and we'll wait for it. So a window just pop up, and it says here that welcome to Oracle VM VirtualBox Guest Addition. So the setup process is pretty simple. We just have to follow the steps and let the default selected values. And so we are going to click the next and wait for it. So we'll just place it here and then next again and click install. So now it's installing. So we are going to click the install, and it will continue to install. So now it's finished. We are going to click the finish, and it will automatically reboot. So now it's restarting. Medyo mahina yung laptop. So now it's finally done. So now we are going to put the password. So 2021. Let's check. And then enter. It's preparing, and it says here that we should notice the display size of our virtual machine. It should be resized to fit the screen of our workstation. So we can easily display the virtual machine desktop in the full screen mode by going to the view menu and select the full screen option, or by hitting the Ctrl F keys combination. So we're just going to do the view menu and select the full screen option. And then we are going to check. So it's not yet full screen, so we're going to go to view and then select the full screen mode. Let's see. Full screen mode. Switch to black mode, and then sprite control. Okay, so switch. As you can see, we have the Windows Server 2016 in full screen mode. So, and here is it. And then now we are I want to go back to the previous one. So even if you drag resize, it will just be in a full screen mode. Sorry. that, and here. So now that we are done in resizing our VirtualBox machine, we are now going to task 3.2, which is the change server name.
Device naming convention. First, we need to attribute a name to our server so that we can easily identify it in the network. How to name your server? If your company has a well-defined naming convention for servers, computers, and other network devices, you will probably follow this convention. But if you have the charge of elaborating a such convention, you have to establish an effective one. This will help you and your team to quickly identify a device, its location, and its purpose by simply reading its name. Your naming convention could be but not necessarily follow. First, change the server name from the server manager, which is displayed just after you open a session. If it's not displayed, you can open it from Windows Start menu and under the Windows Server zone, click on Server Manager. Now in the Server Manager, click on the local server where you can find the computer name property. After installing Windows, a randomly generated name is attributed to the server. As you can see, we're now clicking the local server. You can see the properties. To change it, just click on this name to open the System Properties windows, then click on the Change button as indicated. Like this one, the Change button. There where we see the properties. Just gonna click our computer name. We will click Change. Next, enter the server name under the computer name zone by applying the naming convention. So the server name will be PH to indicate the country, DC for Davao City, A for the site code, and DC for domain controller role after the character. Type P to indicate that it's a production server and another 3 characters for your first 3 letters in your last name. Then 01 for the sequence number. When finished, click OK. You will be then warned that you must restart the computer to apply these changes. Close the System Properties window. Start the server later after changing the IP address. Just gonna change the computer name. I'm gonna type the computer name. Click OK. You must restart your computer to apply these changes, and then we will click OK. Note, screenshot does not follow. Okay. Changes will take effect after you restart the computer. We'll just restart the computer.
So now we are done with task 3.2. Now we are going to do the task 3.3, the assign the IP address. So to change the IP address, we are going to click this network, hover the network, passport, and right click. So right click, and then we are going to click the Open Network and Sharing Center. Okay? Mm, So under the Active Network zone, go and click on the network interface connected. Here there is only one interface named Ethernet. Click on it to open the Internet status panel. So we are going to click this one. Tapos may maglabas na Ethernet status. So the next thing we are going to do is click on the Properties button. So Properties. Ito. Properties. And then select Internet Protocol version 4, then click on the Properties button. Internet, ito, click natin to. And then again, we are going to click the Properties button. Wow, we'll wait. So as you can see, the server has attributed an automatic IP address by default via the DHCP protocol. So to give a server a fixed IP address, select use the following IP address and enter. So we're going to use the following IP address. For the IP address, we have 10. Oops. Oh, 10. So for our subnet mask, we have 255.255.255 and 0. 255. 255. Okay, and so we need to enter after, and for our default gateway we have 10, 10, 10, and 1. 10, oops, 10, 10, and 1. So we need to enter the DNS servers so that the server can resolve host names. So on the local network and websites on the internet. So the preferred DNS server will be server itself as well, set as DNS server role to this one. So this, and we are going to enter the loopback IP address, which is 127.0.0.1. So 127.0.0 and 1. So now, so a loopback IP is a special IP address which refers to the local host itself. So instead of using the IP 10, the 10, the 10, the 10, we will use the loopback IP. It's very handy because the server IP can change in the future, but the loopback IP will never change. Set it up and forget it. So for the next one, for the alternate DNS server, we will enter the Google DNS server IP, which is 8, 8, 8, and 8. So we are now going to validate our configuration and close the panel. So OK and close. And now moving on, we are going to test the server connectivity to be certain that it can reach the external networks and the internet. So we need to open the command prompt. So command, going to open. Again, we're going to the command. Okay. There. And then ping test, but first is we will use the command prompt option, it will be better to put it in the submessage. So we are going to pin this to taskbar. There. And then we are going to, in the command prompt, we type pin 8 and click enter. So here, so it's unreachable. Why is it unreachable? Should have this. So it says here that destination host is unreachable. So let's check our internet connection. Why is it not connected? Oh. Mm. Why is it not connected? So I have encountered some problems with this one. So now I have troubleshoot my connection, so it's back, and we'll try to ping it again. And let's see. So now it's already flying. So now the IP address is set up. We need to restart the computer so that the new server name takes effect. So after the server manager is displayed, go and click on it. So after that, we need to restart our device. So let's see. Okay. Starting. So let's check if the server manager is displayed. I mean, the computer already have a new server name. So let's see. So nag-start na tayo ng device. Now, punta tayo sa server manager. See, ay wait na natin kasi nag-loading pa yung device natin. So, na-loading pa yung environment natin. And then, we are going to the server manager. Punta tayo dun para ma-check natin if, ay automatic na pala siya. If nag-take effect ba yung pag-change natin ng server name. So, punta tayo sa local server. Check natin if nag-reflect ba yung changes na ginawa natin. And, bakit amount to? Reloading pa siya. Wait na lang natin. Bakit hindi lang yan? internet natin. I think, bakit siya hindi on? Then, so wait natin. So now, as you can see, we have the computer name is changed to our server name that we have set from last time, and then but this is IP address. So let's check config. We have the IP set. So yeah, I think we're done with task 3.3. So now we have set our the new IP address. So yes, now we're done setting up our new IP address in our computer.
Unlike the client operating systems such as Windows 10, where you can start using computer and consuming data after installing the OS, this is not the case with Windows servers. After installing Windows Server, you can't do anything useful at this point because the server's purpose is to serve data in the first place, and until you tell the server what its purpose is, it will do nothing to consume electricity. To add a role to your server, we will use the Server Manager. Go under the Manage menu and click on Add Roles and Features. The Add Roles and Features wizard is displayed. The first page just displays some helpful information on how to use the wizard. Read them and click the next button. See, it says select installation type. In the next page, select the installation type by default. A role-based or feature-based installation type is selected, and this is what we need, so click next. On the next page, we will select the server on which we want to add the roles and features. If the server manager is aware on the servers on your network and has been configured to manage them, it will show them on the server pool list so that you can remotely install the role of the features. Click next to continue. Now, select the role you want to attribute to your server from the available role listed. For example, I'll select the DHCP role. A pop-up window is displayed asking if you want to install additional tools so that I can manage the DHCP features from this server. Just accept and add these tools. We will just click Add Features. Next, you can add a feature to your server if needed. Otherwise, you skip this step by clicking the next button. Let's just click next. The following page describes the role of you have installed and gives you some advice and actions to perform so that the role you have installed will work as expected. Click next to go to the final step and run the setup. Some roles and features requires the server to restart. So if you click on the restart the destination server automatically if required. The server will automatically restart after the installation completes without any warning, so be careful with this option. When you add roles or features on a production server, this can lead to a service interruption and cause some problems for your users. We'll just click install like indicated. Click on the install button. Wait till the setup process completes. As you can see, it is now starting installation. We will just have to wait for a few moments. You can see the installation is finished and succeeded. The role we have added will be available under the Tools menu. And we're done. What I have learned about the task is that we can modify or configure the Windows Server 2016 if we want to. I also learned how to change the IP address and add roles. We also need to carefully read the instructions so we will not have a problem, because if we did not do the task properly, it won't end up well.
What have I learned from about the task is that you should always review the PDF file first and get to know about the task that we are going to do, because kanina while I was doing the task I have faced a lot of problems, especially in where is it um in setting up, in assigning the IP address. So we have encountered some problems in, because I just followed the PDF, but my connection was lost while doing so. In setting up, in assigning the IP address, so we have encountered some problems in, because I just followed the PDF, but my connection was lost while doing so. I did some troubleshooting to set up, so that's why it's not following the format such as IP address, subnet mask, and its default gateway, because I did some troubleshooting, and then I opened my CMD to check the IP address of that I have troubleshoot, and I inputted it manually. So ayun, kaya I should have ano, be more careful when doing the kasi maraming maraming errors ang na-encountered during this.
What do you think is the difference between roles and features in Windows Server? For me, roles, it refers to the roles that your server can do in your network, like IP address that we have set in our computer. On other hand, features in Windows Server is an additional capabilities that our operating system will operate.
What do you think is the difference between roles and features in Windows Server? So for the roles, it is referred to the roles that your server can play in your network, such as the DCP that we have set. I mean, the IP address that we have set on a computer by setting up new IP address. That's for example, while the feature is just an additional capabilities that our Windows can operate our operating system by itself. So did you encounter any issues, problems while doing this task? If yes, state the issues and problems and how did you solve it? So as I was said a while ago, we did encounter some issues with task 3.3 because when I followed all these instructions, my internet connection was lost, so I was not able to um, have oh my, when I ping this, um, one, it says my host was unreachable, so that was the error that we have faced a while ago. And then I troubleshoot it and fix it and decided to go with DHCP, and then I opened my command prompt and type ipconfig, and kinuha ko yung IP address and subnet mask niya, and nag-input na lang ako manually so that hindi ma-loss yung internet connection ko. And then, ni-run ko again yung CMD by pinging the 8.8.8.8. And then, nag-result naman siya na successful siya. So, I just continued with that. And then, nag-move on na kami sa next task na, which is this one. So, until na-successful na namin gawin yung mga task na andito.
We encounter some issues on task 3.3 because my partner's internet connection is lost while doing that step. So when she pinged, the command prompt says her host was unreachable, but she managed to troubleshoot it.
So we're finally done with the task